Hey everybody, I have another video here for you today, and this is by multiple request. We're going to go back to ancient America, and we're going to look at a couple mound pyramid cities in the panhandle of Florida here. This is the Lake Jackson Mounds Archaeological State Park. If we back out here, this is really on the northern fringes of Tallahassee here. Here's the city of Tallahassee, so this is really close by the city here. But what is here, it kind of gets lost in people's minds and their perspective just because this is all we can see. Here we are down on Street View, and it looks like they've done a pretty good job here creating a park and preserving what was left of the mounds. Here is one of the smaller mounds in the park. Little stairway up here, but let's go take a look at the rest of them here and take a look at what this place used to look like. Here's Atlas Obscura, and I've used them before. They have a good little story here and some pics of the mounds in the park here. Different sizes, but some good size ones for Florida mounds, that is for sure. And here's a look up the big mound, up the stairway. That'll give you some idea of scale. But this had definite form and shape before centuries of vegetation and tree growth on it. Here's a wide view. One of the bigger mounds in this area of Florida, not the biggest, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video here at a different site. Here is a look at one of the mounds in the park. How many are there? Well, we'll take a look at that, but just kind of hidden in the trees here. Here is a map, a drawing of what was in the park here, 7 structures. Some of these are perfectly square pyramid type structures, corners and angles. There's one round type mound here, one rectangular one, and then one way off here to the north. Any guess at that representation? Here is a look up the big mound here, but these kind of get distorted in our mind's eye just because of what we see today. We see a mound of weeds growing on dirt. That's what we kind of think of. Let's take a look at what this looked like. Now, roughly 1,000 years ago, they were building these pyramid type structures with a flat top but 4 sides that looked very much like a common pyramid does. But they had layers of gravel and stone, and they were built on the remains of prior structures. And there was posts going in the top of those prior structures, and this was all built with a purpose. There was stairs, there was ramps with logs here, multiple layers of fill. And then it seemed as these got added on and as time wore on, the chief lived at the top of some of these structures here. This is just an artist's rendition, how he speculates it looked like. But here you see it says intrusive burial. So maybe a culture centuries down the line was burying their dead in something that they considered very sacred because it was very old. But here you can tell these weren't just mounds of dirt. They had some complexity to them. Now here is a copper plate that was found, I believe, in Mound 3. And this has some symbolism in it. This is the falcon birdman. What he is holding here, something with a cross. And this circular object with this above it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those. But this looks very Mayan, but what is going on down here, well, who knows? And this was found in a different area of the same mound. They call this the Elder Birdman. And that doesn't look as Mayan as the copper plate before, but certainly has some symbolism maybe of the sun and an elder deity figure. And the different mounds probably had different meanings, but they were all kind of centered in a plaza. Here they have little signs in front of each mound that probably gives you some detailed information. Anybody who has been to this site, I'd like to hear from you. But that is just a brief look in history. Lake Jackson Mounds, maybe built 1,000 to 2,000 years ago. The history here kind of vague. And if anybody's visited here, I'd love to hear from you. I don't know too much about these places. Now, about 18 months ago, I started an Ancient America series where I said I would document all the mound pyramid cities in the ancient United States. Well, was I freaking crazy? Some of these, we're going to go 2 at a time here, such as today's video. We're going just to the east. This is Letchworth Love Mounds Archaeological State Park. This is just east of Tallahassee here. And I did not know anything about this till I had an email last week, and I always appreciate those. It gets me to do videos like this. And I know a lot of you are very interested in this series. I know a lot of people just concentrate on the Sphinx and the bigger, huger mysteries, but when people don't talk about this, well, they're leaving out a whole chunk of history. But let's go down and look at the big mound here. And there are many mounds in this park, and I'll leave some links below. Now it seems at Letchworth Love Mound site here, there are smaller mounds that have kind of deteriorated, but there are a few mounds that are bigger, and there is a main mound, and I will leave some links below. But certainly the main mound looked a lot different than it does today. But maybe 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, this is what it looked like. And I call them pyramids because they had stairway, they had corners. A lot of these had 4 sides perfectly even. And this place was no different. The southern United States was no different than the Yucatan or northern Mexico. We kind of get it distorted thinking about it. Southern United States, northern Mexico in ancient times, it was all the same place, same people, just maybe living slightly different lives. But today, this is what we have. So is the importance lost? Well, it shouldn't be. It says here, at 46 feet, this is Florida's tallest Native American ceremonial earthwork mound, which was built between 1100 and 1800 years ago. However, artifacts and evidence of nearly 12,000 years of human habitation have been found at this site. These sites are very important, and I'm sure as heck going to talk about them. It says this is one of 3 major surviving mound complexes in the Florida Panhandle. It is believed to have been built by the Weeden Island culture between 200 and 800 of the current era. Now there are smaller mounds at Letchworth Love Park here, but the main mound is definitely the main feature. This is the way it looks today. But back 1,500, 2,000 years ago, this is what it looked like. A thriving center of a complex society, no doubt. But that is the Letchworth Love Mounds Archaeological State Park, and also the Lake Jackson State Archaeological State Park. But as I said, I'm trying to document all the pyramid mound cities in the ancient United States. There are many of them. I have more on my list now than I did 18 months ago, when I presume the series would only last a few months, but I'm glad to bring it to you. Doesn't seem like this is too popular with people that talk about ancient history, but it's a major part of ancient history, and it's lost history, and it's history that not a lot of us know about. I learn a lot making these videos, so I'm glad to do it. But the ancient United States is very cool. A lot of untold stories. A lot for me to do. Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have. A very nice day.